Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a sparkle chenille earring. And this earring is a really fun design. It's a spin-on flat chenille that uses a 2 millimeter fire polish bead with 8 seed beads to create a top for a flowy fringe design. And I finished it with some really cool Czech glass beads. So I'm going to show you step by step how I made them. And then I'm going to invite you to try all your different color ideas, all your different bead ideas. This is very flexible as far as like the beads you can use and how long you can make your fringe, all that. So I'm going to try them on because I am filming this after having finished making the second of the pair, just so you can see how they look and the pattern as it's written. Will give you an earring that is, I think it's a good length. It's a good length for me. I'm enjoying this one. And so I'll put it back on the mat and we'll do a measure. But the total length of these is, it's about, I would say from ear wire start to the bottom is 2.5. But if you're going to measure from the top of the ear wire, which is kind of more like where you'd be wearing it, it's looking about 3 inches. So again, that's 3 inches, right about there. All right, let's jump in. I'll show you materials and how to put them together. This is the close-up view of the little sparkle chenille earring. And I'm going to show you how this one was made by making its pair and how to adapt it as well. I'm gonna try a few other things. I think this is definitely a stash buster design because we can swap out beads and we can make different colorways. There's lots of ways we can turn this into different lengths. There's so many things. So I'm going to show you how I did this one, and that will be what's in the pattern outlined. But just know that you can really change this up. You can make this your own. You can use what you've got. Lots of different beads are going to work. And I'm going to show a few versions that I'm working on currently that will inspire you to try new and different things with your beads. So what I'm using to make this, I'm going to start with the thread. I'm just using some KO beading thread in like a bluish color, denim blue, I believe it is. And then I've got 8 seed beads and another color of 8 seed beads. So you just need 2 colors of 8 seed beads if you want to do exactly what I've got here. But like I said, other sizes of beads work in this design. Then there is another thing that I did that's a little unusual. I made a mix, my own little mix of 2 millimeter fire polish beads. And so that's what you see here. I mixed up basically some blue and some clear and some silver because I just thought it was really pretty. At the end, I'm going to bring in some tiny little 6 millimeter bellflower beads. And those I thought looked really cool on the end of the fringe. So that's how I did that. Okay, so let me kind of push these out of the way a little bit so I can make it so we can have a nice little work surface and we will get to stitching. So for thread length, to save yourself having to add thread, it doesn't take a lot. This design is actually a quick to work up design, but you're going to want to leave a 35-inch tail at least for your fringe. I left like 35 inches or so, and then I had another 40 inches on top of that to create the top. So a whole wingspan plus a little extra would probably be a good amount. In total, I think I cut 75 inches, 70 or 75, something like that. It's not exact. You'll have extra to weave in and things like that, but just make sure you've got around about that much. And again, we're going to leave about 35 inches behind as a tail. And what I've got right now is a size 10 beading needle. And I'm just going to fold over some of that, make it manageable. And let's go ahead and start row 1. So the base of this design is worked this way, and it is flat chenille. So after this, you'll know how to make a flat chenille bracelet, like I was saying, and you can also just carry this out and make it the full length bracelet that you'd like to match your earrings, for example. To start, I worked a pattern, and let me just show you the pattern really quick. So it's 2 of the blue, 4 of what is, I think, like a little golden black diamond color, and then 2 more of my blue color. And so that is my pattern. And I'm going to stick with that throughout. Space each one of these currently for this row with the fire polish. So string 2, and then a fire polish. And again, these are 2mm fire polishes. 2 and a fire polish. Oop. 2 more. And then your last 2. So you'll have this on your needle. And remembering that 35-inch tail, slide that down. You want to pick up 2 more blue beads. And from here, we're going to start the basic repeat of chenille. So you're going to skip those 2, okay, and go just through the fire polish. It almost, to me, it almost feels like peyote, like a multi-drop peyote. And it definitely seems like an odd count version of that. In fact, this first row really feels like that. So there's those. They'll pop just like a peyote stitch does. And now we need 2 of our other color. And we'll go through the fire polish bead. And every time I do this, I'm using my same peyote stitch method, which is I like to pull the working and tail thread apart to tighten up the work that I've done. Here I need 2 more. And I'm going to skip the next 2 and go through the fire polish. And those can be really tiny, so just, go through them gently. I'm going to tighten that up again. So far we got that. And here's what I mean by it kind of feels like odd count, because now we have these 2 left. Those were the first 2 we strung. And we're going to need to do what kind of looks like an odd count turn. We're going to pick up 2 more of our blue beads. And if you want, just for the visual, I'm going to string those down. And so our goal is to have them sit right there like that. So the best way to do that is to just head back through these 2 beads right here. So go ahead and just head back through those. And you can use your tail as another way to tighten that up. And it might do a little dance on you there, but don't worry about that. It's all going to get very tightened up once we finish the next row. Okay, so here's where it changes up just a little bit. So the goal for the next row, and often this can really help when you're trying to visualize chenille stitch, is the goal for the next row is to have the main, the fire polish, so the main accent bead, be offset kind of from the first row. So what that looks like is we're going to have fire polish right there, right? And then we're going to have one here in between those 2. You should have another one in between those 2. And finally, one should nestle right in there. So to get those in those positions, the way it works is we're going to do a turn. So right now, keep in mind we're exiting from that bead right there. Let me lift it up a little closer. So you can see we're exiting from that bead there. I'm going to turn and go through this bead. So that's going to put me heading in the other direction. So I'm going to go ahead and put a fire polish bead on my needle. And I'm going to bring it through. Let me get those out of the way really quick. I'm going to bring it through that bead right there. And everything's a little loose and wonky right now. That's okay. Don't worry about that part yet. And so what's going to happen is your fire polish bead will sit in between those 2 right there. And then the rest of our row is just kind of hanging out right now. I'm going to tighten both of these strands one more time. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to create one side of a goalpost. And that's just kind of it's a way to get all the beads where we want them to be. So what our goal right now is to get a fire polish in these positions, right? But I need to be heading that direction for starters. And I know in the next row, I'm going to need 80 beads to be placed into those. So the way it kind of works out and the way that I learned it is you pick up a bead here and you go through the fire polish bead. And so you pick up a 8 seed bead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go not just through the fire polish bead, but I'm going to continue through the next 2 8 beads here. So just like that, I want to go through all those beads right there. And now things should start to tighten up quite a lot. And there they go. So now I'm right where I need to be to add a fire polish bead. So I picked one up. And I'm going to go through the next 2 8 beads. So just like that. I'm going to repeat that again. Another fire polish, go through the next 2 8. All right. And now I can put one more fire polish and go through the last 8 seed bead. And now we have a fire polish in between each 8, which is what we were hoping would happen. And we're ready to go and work back this way. So let's add the second side of our goalpost by picking up an 8 bead and going through that fire polish bead right there. And in this case, I'm going to go just through the fire polish, so only that one bead. And there you go. Second side of that goalpost is set. So we're going to fill in with 8 seed beads the space between the fire polish now. So you'll need your second blue bead if we're following the pattern that we've got, and the first of the center color. And then looking here at the work, I'm going to go through the next fire polish bead. And we're going to do that again, but this time with just the center color. And through the next fire polish right there, just like that. And then again, I'm going to need one of the middle and then the last edge blue. And if you're ever struggling to figure out the color that goes there, just take a look at the one that it's going to be sitting on top of. From here, go through the fire polish bead for now. It's the last one here in the row. This is a good spot to take a look at your work and make sure that the colors are in the right positions and everything's where you want it. Mainly the goal being to have the 2 edge beads be your blue bead or your edge bead, whatever color you're doing. And so it'll look like that. From here, I need to weave around. So the next one, let me show you in this configuration one more time what our next goal is. So our next goal is to have fire polish beads offset from the current position. So you want one right here. Sorry. There we go. And then you're going to want one in that position. So this one here. Skipping 2, and then this one right here. And then you'll have one more right there. So it kind of matches what was done in the first row. So step 1, let's get there. Right now we're exiting from that fire polish bead, right? So just go ahead and go through the 8 that's just in the middle there, just below. So in a way, you're kind of doing like one of those peyote stitch. You can go left or right? It's like a little chess game. And then you turn and you go through these 2 8 here. And that'll put you right here, where you can pick up another fire polish bead and go through the next 2 8. So there's the first one. Here's another one. go through 2 8-0, and the last one, and you want to go through 2 8-0 beads. All right. So those are all in a good spot right there. So to do the next row, it's actually really refreshingly easy. We're just going to pick up each of the corresponding 8-0 colors and go through a fire polish. So super, super easy. So here's my 2 8-0, and I'm going to go through the fire polish bead right here. Then I'm going to pick up 2 of the corresponding center color. 2 more. Each time I'm just going to go through a fire polish. And now here I am at the edge, and this should look familiar because we were here before when we were trying to do the first row, remember? Or in this case, that was the third row when we added these 2, but we didn't have anywhere to put them through. So same thing we did there. We're going to slide that down and just go back through the last 2 8-0 seed beads. And try to get through just those if you can. So those 2 8-0s. And then from here, what you're going to want to do is head back through the first of the 2 8-0 you just added. And you'll have that. So pick up a fire polish, go through the next 8-0, and now you're ready to create one side of the goalpost like we did before. And go through the fire polish. And while you're here, if it's easier, go ahead and keep going through the next 2 8-0. And keep in mind, we've got an 8-0 on the needle, went through the fire polish and 2 8-0. There's one goalpost side. Now put a fire polish in between those 2 and go through the next 2. Same thing again, fire polish, go through 2 more. Last but not least, you pick up a fire polish and go through the last 8-0. So it should look super familiar here. And pick up a goalpost, go back just through the fire polish. And now we can just fill in the center here. So we just do a blue, chase that around, and one of these black diamond, and go through the fire polish here. 2 of the center color, 1 center color, 1 blue, and go through the fire polish. And that completes another repeat. So from here, go through the 8-0 that is second in from this side here, and then make another turn. When you make this turn, you want to go through both of those 8-0 beads, right? And then you start adding fire polish here. Go through 2, fire polish, go through 2. Here's 1 more. And I'm just selecting the colors randomly. Go through 2. So from here, you're just going to keep going. So far, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going for a total of 8. So it gets really, really fast to complete. What you'll want to do is just keep building. Repeat this out until you have 8 beads running along these sides here, the blue sides. And from there, we'll put on a loop. We'll finish these edges, and then we'll put on fringe. And here I'm bringing on row 8. So just follow the pattern, repeating, and eventually you'll get to a row that looks like this one where you'll have a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then up here, notice we only have 7. And that's just because we need to finish that row. Bringing on these 2. Same process, go back through the last 2. And come up through the side one. And from here, the goal we have is to get fire polish beads on both sides. So in between each of these on both sides. So it's okay to go ahead and pop a fire polish bead on this spot right now. But we'll need to weave around to be able to attach the rest. So I'm going to go ahead and go back through. So this is where we're deviating from what we've been doing. Because what we've been doing is from here, right, we would pick up another bead, go through that one, and start the goalpost part of the pattern. For this different variation, I'm going to go ahead and finish the edge by just weaving back. I'm going to weave back through following the existing thread path that we have in the chenille work, with the goal of getting me to exit from that bead right there, which is my next position where I want to put a fire polish bead. And this really strengthens up the edge and makes the top of this earring have the stiffness it needs to look like it's supporting its fringe. So grab a fire polish and go through the next two. And this should look pretty familiar. Fire polish, go through two. Last but not least, fire polish, go through one. All right, so now we have one side done, and we have this strand down here, which is going to become our fringe maker. So I'm just leaving that one aside for now. But right up here at the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to travel across here, and while I'm making that journey, I will make the top loop for the ear wire. That'll put me over here. I'll do some reinforcing, and then I'll end up here, where I'll just travel right down with the fire polish for this side. So that's my goal, and here's how to do it. So I'm going to go through this next bead here, which is just the next one in. Just popping down through that bead. And then I'm going to head up through the third one in from the edge. And from here, this pattern's kind of up to you, but I went ahead and just grabbed 2/8, and then I went for 2 fire polish and back to 2/8. I just thought that looked nice, but it really is up to you. Skip the next 2 beads and go through the one after that, and it will be also the third one in from the edge to make that ear wire loop. I want to be able to reinforce that, so I'm going to travel through, and I'm going to follow the thread path. See, I'm just making these little turns. And if there's thread there already, as part of how you form the original stitch, then it is go for going ahead and stitching right through. And now I've got a second pass going on. And I'm going to do that one more time, and it'll bring me right back here. So there it is. There's my loop. And I did do that little trip back around. So there's 3 passes going through there. You could do a 4th, but sometimes what I find happens is after my last fringe, I have some weaving in to do, and I end up kind of reinforcing it a 4th time, sometimes with my my weaving in. So I've left that at 3, and I'm pretty happy with that. From here, my goal is to get to this side so I can add my embellishment. So I'm going to go through this bead, just like that, and then through this one, fire polish bead, go through 2/8, pick up one more, go through 2. And you might notice this side's loose, but keep in mind the only thing keeping it tight is your tail thread, because this was our start. You can just tighten it by pulling on the tail. And that'll all get sorted when we do the fringe strand. So there's fire polish, go through 2. Fire polish, go through 1. All right. So now working thread has met the tail, and we have the top part of the earring done. So at this point, you could weave in the rest of this strand here. I might keep it on hand just in case I need it, but I did not need it last time when I measured. So if you've got a 35-inch tail right here, you don't need it. But go ahead and keep it if you'd like to. Sometimes it can be nice to have that extra strand if you see something you want to reinforce or strengthen or anything like that, or if you make a mistake and have to work back. I usually do all my weaving in at the end, so you'll see me pushing that out of the way while we work our fringe. But go ahead and put a needle on this strand and let's get our fringe started. All right, so here is what the fringe pattern looks like. So I started with a fire polish bead, and then an 8/0 seed bead, fire polish, and an 8/0 in the first color, which was my blue. I'm just going to string that down. So now you'll see I have, oh, there's a sticky one. Hang on. If you get little fire polishes like that, especially with that finish tends to do that a little more. You can just pinch them. They come apart, no problem. Okay, and so from here, every single one of my 8/0 is going to be spaced with a fire polish bead, and I just thought that looked cool. Feel free to change that. It was just my design choice. I thought it was fun. And so for the next colorway, or color block, I guess, I'm going to do the other color, and I'm going to go with 4, and each of those will be spaced with a fire polish bead. And this will all be in the pattern for you, but I'm just talking you through it. Going back to my blue, fire polish blue, and a fire polish bead. And so basically it's 2 with 4 and then 2, which really adds a really gorgeous symmetry, because then you've got the 4 here, 4, and then it starts with 2 and ends with 2. So it looks really nice. Get some of your accent bead, and keep in mind, sky's the limit on this, guys. This could be anything. Right now I'm just using this flower because I liked it and I had it and I wanted to use it. I'm going to bring that on. And a fire polish bead as my turning bead, which again, that could be anything. Little 15-0s, anything you've got. Now let's head back up. So again, if you like this pattern, it will be in the handout, but you can do any pattern. And so I went back through all those beads, skipping the one that's at the end. And when you get to the top where you meet your chenille work, go ahead and go through the edge 8/0 bead and pull all of that through. And it should meet the work there. I'm just going to move the tail out of the way. Okay. And so there's my first fringe strand. So to make my journey through, my goal being to exit now from the next 8/0 bead, I want to be headed that way, right? But I don't want to just go straight from this bead to that bead, because that thread jump will be very prominently visible. It's crossing an intersection in the chenille. So what you'll want to do is just make a little journey around. Best way to do that is to go through the fire polish bead, continue through the next 8/0, then make a turn and go down through the 8/0 that's adjacent to that. So that one right there. And then you can either go straight to the 8/0 or you can go through the fire polish and then go to the 8/0. I usually go through the fire polish, at least in this step right here. And so what you have is your first fringe strand is complete, and then you're ready to start your next one. All right, got the new strand on, and I'm just going back through that 8/0 bead, the one we were exiting. Pull that through. And for this one and every other one going forward, you see here how you can go ahead and just make a jump from this bead right into that one. So on this particular turn, it's okay to just go ahead and do that, because that thread's not going to show. But where you don't want to do that is jumping from this bead to this one. For that, when we come back up with the next fringe strand, we're going to want to go through this bead, that one, fire polish optionally, and then this one, and then start. So every other one, for example, the ones where you have this open, I would recommend weaving around instead of trying to do the jump. The jump's okay to do when you're under the fire polish because that thread just, disappears right there. So finish your fringe. They're all the same. The selection of colors is kind of random with the fire polish, but not with the 8-0. And then when you get to the side, we'll weave in and it's all done. All right, so here I am on my last fringe strand. And so I'm just going to bring down that bead, go back through all these. I always love this part of a design, so I wanted to show it. You just love the last fringe strand when you put the last one on. It's just really fun. And I'm just kind of trying to get through that bead up here at the top, but my stitching got pretty tight there, so there we go. I got through all of them. Just trying not to miss a bead. Make sure you get through them. From this last one right here, I'm just going to go ahead and adjust all my fringe, make sure everything's flowing as I want it. Let it hang for a second before I weave in. And then when I weave in, I'm going to do so making sure that I don't make it too tight, like where this gets cinched up and doesn't flow. But there they are. Look at that. And I think the weight of the flower is really helpful in getting your designs to have a little, having a little weight at the end of a fringe strand is really helpful. So there it is. To weave in, just follow your thread path through some of the beads and trim it, and you've got it. I'll do the same with the starting strand. I could have done that before. It was not needed, and it was kind of in the way. So I kind of wish I'd woven it in earlier. But that's it in a nutshell. So here they are together. Nice up close view of them. And I mean, what a fun way to create a beautiful little fringe design. Use any creative beads that you want to use for that bottom elegant just addition, and it creates a really nice, like, flowy but very sparkly, because we did the sparkly fire polish beads, and really fun. So I'm going to pop an earwire on these and try them on, and then I'm going to make a bunch of different colors, and I'm going to try different beads. It's going to be so cool. Here they are again. I mean, I feel like they're seasonless. I would wear these year round, but how great for holidays coming up. How great for gifts. Very sparkly. They really do shine in the light. So I think whoever you make these for will be very excited to get them and put them on. And so I invite you to go and shop on jillwisemandesigns.com and find all different colors. Make a mix like we did with the fire polish. Grab different colors of 8-0. Find a sparkly accent bead for the bottom. Bellflower is a great idea. Many other things are going to work really fabulous for this. So I can't wait to see what you make. Go ahead and post them and share your work, and I'm excited to see it. And until the next one, I'm going to wish you happy beading.